Hey everyone, welcome to the newest episode of the Geek Report. This episode will be for the weeks of April 20th, 2026 through May 4th, 2026. Now let's take a look at the news in the worlds of movies, TV, and video games.
Hey everyone, hope everyone's doing good. Hope you all are doing happy, doing blessed, doing safe, and doing well. Welcome to your Geek Report for the weeks of April the 20th through May 4th of 2026. We've got a few news items to talk about, so let's get started. So first off, we're going to start off in our movie and TV segment. And our first trailer we're going to talk about is Practical Magic 2. Alright, this is the sequel to a movie that came out in the late 90s. It kind of mixes a romantic comedy with magic and fantasy, and it was one I really did enjoy. It's one of those movies you don't really think you're going to enjoy, but you did get a kick out of it. We're going to take a look at the trailer, and I'll give you some overall thoughts and opinions on it. Then we're going to talk about the fact that they are making a Battlefield movie. Now, really, we should have expected this. Okay, Call of Duty comes out with a live action movie, Battlefield's got to follow suit. So, we're going to talk about the overall details we know about the movie and overall what I think of it right now. Then, we're going to move on into our gaming segment. And the first bit of news we're going to talk about is Sony's DRM drama. So, basically, in the most recent update, Sony put in what they call DRM, which is basically a way for them to check to make sure you legally bought a game online, instead of just trusting you. Okay, and at first it turned into a complete car wreck. Okay, I mean it was just a total car wreck. But then they went, and I don't know if they changed their minds or if no, they were always going to do this, but then they went and they changed things up a little bit to where instead of having to go in every 30 days, you only have to do it once and then it's yours. Well, the license is. So we're going to take a look at the drama behind Sony's DRM protection. I'm going to give you some of my own thoughts about it. And then we got a trailer. Assassin's Creed Black Flag, one of my favorite Assassin's Creed games, is being remade. They're calling it Assassin's Creed Black Flag Resynced. We're going to take a look at it, and I'm going to give you just some overall thoughts and opinions on the trailer, and just overall what I think of it. But anyway, sit back, relax, grab yourself something to eat, grab yourself something to drink, and let's look at the Geek Report for the weeks of April the 20th through May 4th of 2026.
Now, let's begin our Geek Report in our TV and movie segment. So, let's see what big news dropped in the past 2 weeks in the world of TV, movies, and anime.
Now, let's begin this episode of the Geek Report in our movie and TV segment. And the first part we're going to be dealing with is the movie and TV trailers. Okay? Now, back in the late 1990s, a very unique movie came out, and it was called Practical Magic. And it kind of wove in this whole idea of magic and, loss and family into something that I enjoyed. Okay? It wasn't like my absolute favorite movie, but I thoroughly enjoyed it, okay? So I was pleasantly surprised when we found out that we are getting a sequel called Practical Magic 2. Now, this is a trailer for the upcoming sequel, and I'm pleasantly surprised by this, okay? Because I wasn't like a hardcore fan of Practical Magic, but I did enjoy the film. Okay, it was a good film. Especially, if you were like me and you were beginning to get burned out on science fiction and fantasy and stuff. This kind of wove in fantasy with a love story, with the idea of a curse and sisterhood. Because at that time, you also had Sabrina the Teenage Witch on. And it was kind of like that feeling, okay? It wasn't for kids, okay, like Sabrina was at the time. But it was something that if you watched Sabrina the Teenage Witch, you could relate to. Okay? The whole idea of family and magic and curses and all that. Okay? So let's take a look at the trailer for Practical Magic 2 and let's see if the people behind it can, again, catch fire and lightning in a bottle. Okay? Let's hope they can catch lightning in a bottle twice. Because I am kind of concerned because when they do these sequels for these movies, okay, they always seem to want to add some type of nonsense into it. And I really hope they don't do it with this one. Because Practical Magic was a good movie. It wasn't my absolute favorite movie, but it was a good movie. And I'm kind of curious to see what they do in the sequel. So this here is the trailer for the upcoming movie Practical Magic 2.
I'm sure you've heard of the...
Now, this is the house where they lived in, okay? And even in the original, the house had its own story, okay, almost. It was a big part of the story. So I'm kind of interested to see if what they're going to do with that.
Owens family. The ones from Massachusetts. The ones their neighbors whisper are witches.
Now, here's the thing. The Owens family has a curse placed on them. And that curse is that any time one of them fell in love with a man, okay, that he would die a horrible death. Now, at the end of the original Practical Magic, one of the Owen sisters had fallen in love with a man and had 2 kids. And then he had died, and then she had fallen in love with another man. Okay, so I'm kind of wondering if we're going to continue that, where she fell in love with the second man and he died a horrible death, just like the ones before it. Now, it was alluded to in the movie that the curse had been broken. Okay, so I'm wondering if they're going to keep the curse like they did, with the original, or if they are going to have broken the curse entirely. Because in the original, it was kind of alluded to that the curse was broken. Okay, so I'm kind of wondering how they're going to do that. Are they going to keep the curse or actually break it?
You're the Owen sisters.
Yeah, everyone we love dies.
Oh, right.
A really horrible death. But I mean, it's not great for the Tinder bio. I've waited such a long time for this.
She has.
You put the line in the coconut, you drink 'em bold up. Put the line in the coconut, you drink 'em bold up. Put a line in the coconut, you drink 'em bold up. Put the line in the coconut, then you feel better. Put the line in the coconut and drink 'em both together. Put the line in the coconut, then you feel better. Put the line in the coconut, drink 'em bold up. Put the line in the coconut and call me in the morning.
Everything's gonna be okay.
Everything's gonna be okay? Just like it was when we had to bury a corpse under a rose bush? That kind of fine? Or different? Different?
Now, I like that part because that did happen in the original. Spoilers if you've not seen the 1998 movie Practical Magic. Okay, let me just put that out there now. But in the original, Nicole Kidman had this abusive boyfriend who was beating her all the time. And Sandra Bullock had to come in and basically hit him and killed him. Well, not wanting to get charged with murder, they decided to use magic, and they broke one of the fundamental rules of magic for anything, and that is bringing someone back from the dead. Well, it didn't end so well, and they had to bury his corpse underneath a rose garden. Well, the problem was they didn't kill a spirit, and a spirit infected Nicole Kidman, and they had to kind of do an exorcism to remove him entirely. Okay, so seeing that kind of tells me they are linking this to the original, I still haven't gotten the feeling about about the curse. The curse was a big part of the original, and I'm kind of wondering about that, about how the curse is going to play into this one, especially with what it seems like there's going to be a new generation of Owen sisters. Okay, so I've kind of backed it up a little bit, and right here we see Nicole Kidman, Sandra Bullock, and two younger girls. In the original, okay, Sandra Bullock did have two daughters. So now it's become apparent that there's now a new generation, okay? And I'm kind of wondering how they're going to play into this, okay? Are they going to continue like Nicole Kidman and Sandra Bullock? Or are they perhaps going... I mean, how's the curse going to play onto them? Okay, because I'm just kind of curious about the curse, you know? And I know focusing a lot on this curse and how it all, you know, fits in with this movie, because the curse was such a big thing with the original movie, okay? It was such a huge thing. And I'm kind of curious how they're going to do the curse. All right. Because I want to know how they're going to do the curse. I want to know how these younger ones are going to play into the movie. Is this a passing off of the baton to a new generation of Owen sisters? Or is this more like the beginning of them teaching them about their abilities, about the curse, about what they can and cannot do, so that way they don't make the same mistakes as, you know, the ones that came before them and even themselves, you know?
You put the line in your coconut, you drink 'em pulled up. Put the line in the coconut, you drink 'em pulled up. Put a line in that coconut, you drink 'em pulled up. Put the line in that coconut, then you feel better. Put the line in the coconut and drink 'em both together. Put the line in the coconut, then you feel better. Put the line in the coconut, drink 'em pulled up. Put the line in the coconut and call me in the morning.
Now, another thing, and I'm going to go back here for a second. This is making me wonder, we ain't going to explore the curse that Sandra Bullock and Nicole Kidman's characters are not going to go to the place where the curse started and perhaps break the curse. Now, in the original, it was kind of hinted at that the curse was broken. But it was never like full on, like, yes, the curse is broken. Okay. I'm wondering if that's where we're going now. That, you know, we're seeing this old buildings and stuff like that. And it's kind of making me wonder if perhaps the curse of the Owen sisters, the one that says that whenever they fall in love, after so many years, their man will, the person they fell in love with will die a horrible death, because the first Owen's sister, long time ago, had that happen to him, and she placed a curse on her family because of her grief. Okay, so I'm kind of wondering if we ain't going back to that and perhaps finally getting confirmation that the curse is over, that the curse is done, or if perhaps we're not going back to the beginnings of the Owens line for some reason. Because you're seeing these ruins and these old buildings, and it's just making me wonder if we ain't going back to how the curse and the Owen sisters all started.
Everything's gonna be okay.
Everything's gonna be okay? Just like it was when we had to bury a corpse under a rose bush? That kind of fine? Or different? Different or same?
Put the lime in the coconut, you drink 'em both together. Put the lime in the coconut and you feel better.
Okay, and it is coming out in September. There is no exact date yet. I'm not very sure about September. I mean, it's right around that time of, you know, when people are getting ready for October, for Halloween and stuff. I think it would do better if they did it right around the Halloween time. But September is close enough to where it can kind of fall into that Halloween sort of theme. But at the same time, people are getting ready for fall, getting ready to, be with their families and everything. I just felt that it should be closer to Halloween than in September. So let me say, this was quite the surprise for me. Because the original Practical Magic was one of those films that you didn't think I would love, but I honestly did enjoy it, okay? I mean, it had drama, it had magic, it had, all that stuff in it. And it kind of gave off a Sabrina the Teenage Witch type of vibe, but it wasn't Sabrina the Teenage Witch. It was for adults, okay? So, I am very happy to see a sequel, okay? The thing about it, though, is that I'm worried that they're going to change too much about what made the original so good. And another thing I'm kind of wondering about is the curse. Because we saw all the old buildings. We saw all the old architecture. And it's almost like they're going back and exploring the curse. What caused the curse. What begot the curse. All that. Okay. So I'm kind of wondering about if that's where we're going with this. And it's interesting to see a new generation of Owen sisters. So I'm kind of wondering if maybe we ain't seeing a passing of the baton in terms of magic and witchcraft to this younger generation who are now not only going to have to learn what the originals did wrong, but now find their own path. Especially if the curse is still active and hanging over their heads. Which I think that's really why we saw all that architecture. I think we're going back to the origins of the curse. I think we're going back to try and somehow break the curse. That we're following a trail to... That we're following a trail that leads to some surprises, some revelations about the origin of the curse, about what really happened to the original Owen sister who created the curse. Okay, and I think we're going to find that what we were led to believe in the original was not true. But I'm glad Practical Magic is getting a sequel. I think it's going to be really interesting. I think it's going to be one of those things that can really walk the tightrope between magic and romance, okay? And get people who like fantasy and romance and stuff really into this. But it's Hollywood. Okay? I mean, it's Hollywood. And while it has Sandra Bullock and Nicole Kidman in it, I'm still very worried nowadays of what I go to watch from Hollywood because I'm always afraid they're going to take this property that I care about, that I like, and they're going to twist it and turn it into some type of nonsense that I don't. But it is coming out in September, and I guess we'll find out in September whether or not magic is still alive in Massachusetts and whether or not the Owen sisters are still practical magic.
Continuing on with the news from TV, movies, and anime from the past 2 weeks.
Now, continuing on with our movie and TV news, our final news story in this segment will deal with some information that came out in the past couple of weeks. And it should have been quite obvious from the get-go that this was eventually going to happen. Okay, I mean, if Call of Duty is going to do it, then you obviously know that Battlefield is going to do it. And that is that they are bringing a Battlefield live-action movie to theaters. Okay, and we got this information from The Hollywood Reporter. And it talks about Christopher McQuarrie and Michael B. Jordan to tackle an adaptation of Battlefield, the video game. Now, they are obviously going to be talking about and working with the most current Battlefield, Battlefield 6. Okay. Now, I'm not a hardcore Battlefield fan. There's a whole lot I do not know about Battlefield in general. But I know that Battlefield 6 has been quite possibly one of the most popular Battlefield games in a long time. And so it's obvious that they're going to be working on that. Okay. So continuing on from the Hollywood Reporter, it says here that the big Hollywood studios and streamers are taking meetings with the A-listers to make a movie out of the biggest video game of 2025. So that right there tells you that it's going to be Battlefield 6. And continuing on, it says, as the week comes to a close, the groundwork is being laid for what could be the biggest bidding war of the year. And it's appropriate enough for Battlefield, the military video game which last year topped the sales charts. And if the title wasn't enticing enough, it comes with some of the biggest names in Hollywood. Christopher McQuarrie, who has spent the last dozen years guiding field operations, and Tom Cruise in the Mission Impossible movies, which I like the Mission Impossible movies. Okay, full on, he's got the pedigree around doing action movies. And Michael B. Jordan, who last month won an Oscar for his performance in Sinners. I didn't see Sinners. I don't really know. I know Michael B. Jordan from Creed, the more recent continuation of the Rocky films, Creed and Creed 2. And he can act. The Tom Clancy inspired movie over on Amazon Prime. Okay. But anyway, continuing on, it says here that McQuarrie is attached to write, direct, and produce a feature adaptation of Battlefield, while Jordan is attached to produce and possibly star depending on several factors. This hot package is currently before studios who are already marshaling their interests. Additional producers include Jesse Stern of Electronic Arts. Okay, so you are going to have someone from Electronic Arts behind the scenes. Carter Swan of Emerald Neon, don't know who that is. Roy Lee and Miri Yoon of Vertigo, and Elizabeth Rapazzo of Outlier Society. Sources tell The Hollywood Reporter that McQuarrie and several others pitched to studios and streamers such as Apple and Sony Thursday, with other meetings occurring Friday. These involved are prioritizing a theatrical release, so it is unclear if Netflix will be on the meeting list. It's unclear when the bidding will commence, but Studio Business Affairs execs better gird their loins for this one. It will not be cheap. Talent cost will be one thing, but even getting the rights to the game will be pricey. Yeah, ain't that the truth? Battlefield first launched in 2002 as a World War II game, and it was entitled Battlefield 1942. And over the 2 decades, the games became more ambitious, elaborate, set in various time periods, even the future. Battlefield 6, the 18th game and the latest game in the series, were released last year and was set about 2 years in the future and featured a splintered NATO as one of the sides fighting. Reportedly one of the most expensive games ever made, it became not only the biggest seller in the franchise history, but the top game of 2025, finally eclipsing Call of Duty. Which, no, heck, anything could have eclipsed Call of Duty last year. Okay, I'll just be honest with you. But in all reality, we should have known this was coming. Okay. I mean, we've got a Call of Duty game not a game, but a movie. We got a Call of Duty movie coming out. Okay. So we should have been expecting a Battlefield movie. Okay. Now, let me say this. I can understand why they are going with Battlefield 6. Okay. It was the biggest game of 2025. It topped Call of Duty. It has some big names behind it. And overall, the story is relevant to today's world. Because in the story, you're dealing about a NATO that is collapsing. About countries leaving NATO. And that's kind of in the headlines right now. Okay. And so far, you've got streamers kind of wanting to get the rights to this and all that. Okay. I hope they do it right, though. Okay. Make the focus about the military aspect of it. Okay. Don't sit there and try to bring all this drama into it and stuff. Okay. But make the aspect about the whole military thing. Because in Battlefield 6, and I've not played Battlefield 6, but I've looked it up a little bit, there are times where you have betrayals and all this stuff. We don't care about that. We care about pure action. We care about seeing tanks and helicopters fighting it out. Okay. And I think that one of the major rules of any adaptation, whether you're talking about a game to movie or a movie to game, is that it should add to the core material. Okay? It should definitely add to the core material. So, this movie should absolutely add to the core material, which is Battlefield 6. Okay? Now, from what I remember, they went to Brooklyn, they went to Gibraltar. From what I understand, okay, they went to Brooklyn, they went to Gibraltar, and several other places. All right, they need to go to, or they show other places in this conflict with Pax Armada. Okay, they don't need to retread ground that's already being done. Okay, they need to not only connect to the game, but they need to show that they can stand on their own 2 feet as not just a game to movie adaptation, but a military movie. Okay. And I think that is very much going to be very difficult for them, especially if they're just retreading ground that's already been tread by the game. I'm not sitting here saying that they shouldn't show Gibraltar or Brooklyn or stuff like that. Okay. But I think that first off, they need to focus on a different squad. Secondly, they need to kind of be more in depth of how NATO fell apart. Okay. And how Pax Armada became this new coalition. Okay. Almost overnight. Okay. And I think that they need to show different locations. Okay. Now, I'm not saying that they should not show Brooklyn or Gibraltar, but I think they need to also show different locations in this ongoing fight with Pax Armada. Okay. But look, we should have seen this coming. Call of Duty gets a movie. Now Battlefield 6 gets a movie. And it's going to be real interesting if Call of Duty and Battlefield are fighting not only in the game space, but in the movie space. Okay. But before I make any decisions about which one is better, I need to see trailers for both Battlefield 6 and Call of Duty. Okay? I need to see the trailers. But until then, we are getting a Battlefield 6 movie. It is coming from Michael B. Jordan as well as Christopher McQuarrie. And hopefully we'll get some more information this next summer about who all is going to be playing in it. But I really don't expect a trailer for it. At minimum, I expect a trailer for it next year. Now, if Call of Duty does something crazy and they drop their own trailer, then obviously Battlefield is going to want to drop theirs. Okay? But I honestly don't expect a trailer for Battlefield 6 until at minimum next year. Okay? But that's all depending on what Call of Duty does. Because really, realistically, this is a counter to Call of Duty. Okay? And, I can't wait to see what comes out of this battle between Battlefield and Call of Duty. Alright? Because now, not only are they fighting in the game space, now they're fighting in the movie space as well.
Now moving on, let's move on to this episode's video game segment. So, let's see what news dropped in the past 2 weeks in the world of video games.
In this episode of the Geek Report, we'll be talking about Sony. And Sony did something that I am very much against. So if you don't know what DRM is, okay. So DRM is a way that companies can help fight piracy. But from my point of view, it's also very anti-consumer, okay? Because of the simple fact that every so many days you have to connect to the internet to verify your purchase of this product. Okay. And this is mainly done on digital games and digital software, even digital movies. Okay. It's one of my big concerns on why I prefer disc-based programs versus those I buy digitally. Okay. That's not to say I won't buy digital games, but I prefer a disc versus a digital download. Okay. Well, in the past couple of weeks, Sony dropped a new update and it started a timer on all games purchased after March of 2026. And it's a form of DRM. Okay. Now, when this first came out, everyone was up in arms over it. Okay. Because the way they made it seem like it, okay, was that you would have to get online every 30 days to confirm your purchases of software. Okay. So let's say you went and you bought Infinite Warfare or Modern Warfare 3 or Black Ops 7 online through PlayStation, okay? Then basically the way they made it seem out was that you would have to go online every 30 days to verify your ownership of that game that you spent $50, $60 on. Okay. Well, just as I was getting ready to report this, Sony went and clarified a few things. Okay. Now, let me be completely honest. I think that is the most stupid idea on the face of the planet. Okay. You should not have to log into the internet to verify something that you bought. Okay? You shouldn't have to do it. Okay? And I think it's another example of the difference between owning something and owning the license to something. Okay? And if you don't know what I'm talking about, anytime you buy something digital, whether it be a movie, TV show, whatever, you don't own that. You own the license to that. The difference being that at any time, okay, Sony can come up and say, oh, we've lost the license to said game. We're going to remove it. And they can remove it and there is no recourse for you. Okay. In fact, this has happened before several times with movies and games across multiple platforms, whether you're talking about Amazon Prime, PlayStation, Xbox, etc. Okay, this has happened before where Sony lost a license to a particular TV station, TV network, whatnot, and that includes their programming. And they removed that programming from everyone's, I guess you'd call it cloud, but from everyone's purchases, okay? And there was no recourse. Whereas if you go out and you buy a disc, okay, you own that, okay? You don't need to go online and verify every 30 days that you own it. You don't need to go and worry about whether or not it's going to be stripped from you. Because if you own the disc that has that program or game or whatever on it, you can technically still play it, without having to worry about licenses and all that stuff. Okay? Well, at first, PlayStation went and made it seem like you were going to have to log in every 30 days to verify something you owned. Okay? And if you did not do that, then you would lose all rights to that game. Okay, and that this was going to take place for games bought after the most recent update, which was the 13.20 update, which I believe was March or April. Okay, March or April, and this got everyone up in arms, me included. Okay, because this is absolutely the most dumb and stupid thing I could ever think of. Okay, this is the most ignorant, stupid thing I could ever think of. Okay, because you should not have to log in every 30 days to verify your purchase. What if you have god awful internet? Okay, what if you have no internet? Okay, and you take your PlayStation to your friend's house to log into his Wi-Fi, okay, to download whatever games you want and then bring it back. Or what if you have garbage internet? Okay. And I know people are probably saying, oh, well, everyone's got internet. Everyone's got Starlink and all this. Some people don't have Starlink. Some people can't afford Starlink. Okay. And there are still big swaths of this country that do not have any form of internet for one reason or another. Okay? So sitting there and making someone confirm their digital purchase every 30 days, it's just stupid. Okay? And that's the way they made it seem at the beginning of this. Now, I don't know if someone went and changed their mind. I don't know if they didn't like the pushback or whatnot. But just as I was getting ready to record this, a new story came out. And it says here that basically the 30 days will happen once when you buy the game. Okay? You buy the game, you download it, and then afterwards, you'll have 30 days to re-verify your purchase before it becomes unusable. Okay. So first off, this is better than what was going on before. Okay. Before, everyone thought that you have to log in every 30 days. Okay. But now it's just a one-time, like after you download it, one-time verification. That's all it is. Okay. And you see it on the story here. It says players can continue to access and play their purchased games as usual. A one-time online check is required after purchase to confirm the game's license, after which no further check-ins are needed. Okay. So, all that's required after you buy the game, and I'm assuming after you download it, is a one-time check to verify your license holder status of it, and then you won't receive it anything else. Now look, this is better than what we thought it was before, but I still don't like the whole idea of a check. Okay, if you buy something, okay, there should be a record. Okay, he bought this game, this time, this place. Okay. I still don't like the whole idea of DRM. Okay. I think it's so anti-consumer. All right. And really, you don't own what you buy digitally. Okay. You own the license to it. And that license can be stripped from you at any time. We've seen this happen before on PlayStation. We've seen it happen before on Prime Video, on so many other platforms. Okay? I am very much against DRM, and I'm very much against piracy. Okay? And we all know that this is why they're doing this, because of piracy. Because there are people online who will go and copy these games, maybe download them to their system and then copy them over to a computer or whatnot, and then sell them under the table without really giving the people who made the game any proper credit or money or whatnot. Okay, so this is all this combat piracy. But at what point does the cure become worse than the disease. Okay? Now look, like I said before, this is better than what we thought was going to happen before. Before, we thought we would have to check in every 30 days. Now, it's just a one-time check. I can live with that from an internet perspective, okay? I can honestly live with that, okay? If you're someone who goes and you take your system to your friend's house who has better Wi-Fi than you, you can do the check every 30, after you've bought the game, and you can take care of all that one shot, then bring it home with the game installed and play it. Okay. But to me, it shows that they are considering doing a constant check. Okay. And I think we do need to respond to this. I think we need to let them know, hey, don't go any further than this. Because at this point, the cure is becoming worse than the disease. I get they're trying to combat piracy. I get they don't want pirates pirating their game or hacking their game or stuff like that. Okay? But at some point, there's got to be a line that should not be crossed. Okay? At some point, there should be something that someone says, hey, we understand that piracy is going on, but we can't cross this line or we're going to lose fans. We're going to lose players. Okay? And I'm worried that they do it. They start with the one-time online check. And then they move on to maybe a twice check or a 3 times check. And then it becomes a monthly check. Okay? That's what's concerning me. Okay, so on one hand, I get where they're coming from. They're trying to stop piracy. They're trying to make it harder for pirates to get their games and all that stuff. Okay, but flip side of that, at what point does the cure become worse than the disease?
Let's continue taking a look at the news from the world of video games from the past 2 weeks.
Now, continuing on, I am a huge fan of Assassin's Creed games, okay? And I will admit that they have fallen out some, but they have some great Assassin's Creed games. I mean, Revelations, great game. Assassin's Creed 3, great game. But I think one of the best Assassin's Creed games I've ever played was Assassin's Creed Black Flag. Now, it's now getting a remake. Okay, and they're calling it Assassin's Creed Black Flag Resynced. And this here is the trailer for it. And so, we're going to take a look at this trailer, and I'm going to give you some of my own thoughts and opinions on it. Okay? But this here is the trailer for the upcoming game, Assassin's Creed Black Flag Resynced.
We fly no colors out here.
Now, the first thing I'm noticing here is just how beautiful it looks. Assassin's Creed Black Flag takes place in the Caribbean, okay? And it looks absolutely beautiful. I mean, they have done a great job of bringing all of just the beauty and the majesty of that time period of the pirates back. Okay.
Praise the lack of them. So let the black flag signal nothing but your allegiance to man's natural freedoms. If a man plays the fool.
Now, I'm going to go back there for a minute because I want you to see that again, okay?
If a man plays the...
Now, what you just saw there with the ships firing on each other, that's a huge mechanic in Black Flag. And I'm glad to see that they are bringing it back. Okay, just by it being in there, it seems like they are going to be bringing back that ship battle mechanic.
Or if a man plays the fool, then it's only fools he'll persuade, but appear to be the devil. And all men will submit. We're pirates, kid. We take as we please and become who we like.
But that look ain't you. It's not who you are.
Who am I then?
You're a wonder, Kenway. You've a knack for this kind of work.
It ain't work if you love it.
So that was the trailer for Assassin's Creed Black Flag Resynced. Now, I absolutely love this trailer. I love Black Flag. This version of it is coming out for PlayStation 5 and the next generation Xbox. Here's the thing, though. One of the big elements of Black Flag was the times you went into the current day. Because in Assassin's Creed Black Flag, you would not only just look at the past, but also take levels happening in the current day. Okay? We're now hearing that those could be removed from Resynced. And that's what I'm going to call this. Black Flag Resynced. I don't know how I feel about that, because that's always been a big part of the Assassin's Creed games. Okay? I really don't know how I feel about that. Okay? Now, if they add something to that to replace those levels where you're not really losing anything, then I'm all for that. Okay? I really am. But if they just remove it and expect things to go forward as normal, they can't do that. Now, we've heard that they're going to add new levels to replace the ones that are happening in the future. That they're going to add new stuff into it, not just new graphics, but other stuff to it. But I'm liking what I'm seeing so far. It's just I have that concern because they did not show any of the future levels in this trailer. And now we're hearing they're going to remove them entirely. The levels that take place in today's world versus the world of the pirates. Okay. So we're going to check out, Black Flag Resynced on July 9th. Hopefully it is a good, I guess you could call it remake, reboot, whatever. I'm just have that concern about them removing those futuristic levels, which have been big parts of Assassin's Creed games. Okay? But removing those futuristic levels and replacing them with something else. That's my main concern. If they can do that right, then they will have a great remake on their hands for a next generation console. And quite possibly, they could be opening the door for Assassin's Creed games that take place purely in the past, completely removing the futuristic aspect of it. But it looks like a great trailer. It looks like a great game. I've already played the original Black Flag. I loved it. It's one of my favorite Assassin's Creed games. My favorite Assassin's Creed game is number 3. I just absolutely love number 3. But this one is a close second. I absolutely loved Black Flag. I can't wait to see what they do with Resynced, especially if they're going to remove those times where you're in modern day. But that's my main concern, is how they're going to replace the modern day levels with levels in the age of the pirates. That's my main concern concerning this. But it's coming out July 9th, and so sooner rather than later, we'll all get to know what's coming. Well, ladies and gentlemen, that was the Geek Report for the weeks of April the 20th through May 4th of 2026. To kind of look back over what we all talked about, we started off in our movie and TV segment. And we first talked about the new Practical Magic 2 trailer. I gave you some of my thoughts on it, and overall what I basically am expecting out of this movie, and overall just what I thought of the trailer. Then we talked about some of the information concerning the Battlefield movie that's coming in production. We talked about basically who's behind it, and basically what Battlefield is it going to be set in, and all that. Then we moved on into our gaming news segment. And first off, we talked about the drama surrounding Sony and their 30-day protections of software, their DRM protections. First off, having to log in every 30 days to confirm your purchase, and then just having to log in once to confirm your purchase. I gave you my overall thoughts and opinions on that, and just what I thought about the whole situation. And then we took a look at the new trailer for Assassin's Creed Black Flag Resynced. This is the remake to one of my favorite Assassin's Creed games, Assassin's Creed Black Flag. We talked about what we're hearing from the game, about what's going to happen with the game when it comes out, and we took a good look at the trailer, and I gave you some of my thoughts and opinions on it. But anyway, that was your Geek Report for the weeks of April the 20th through May 4th of 2026. I hope you guys are doing good. Hope you guys are staying well, staying healthy, and staying safe. Check out my video sites over on YouTube and Rumble, and hit me up over on X and let me know what you thought of this Geek Report. And I will see you guys in the next video and in the next stream. Laters.
Hey everyone, thanks for watching this episode of the Geek Report. I hope you enjoyed it. If you got a moment, please check out my other video sites as well as my social media and give them a like and follow. I will see you all in the next video and the next stream. Laters.